Hello, Empowered Woman. Welcome to this episode of the Empowered Woman podcast. This is another interview I did inside my Facebook group, the Empowered Woman Community, in celebration of 2 years of the show. I talked to Sloane KETCHAM, Hawaiian girl, multi-passionate entrepreneur, speaker, author, and podcasting mama. She shares her personal story of transformation from teen mom to triumphant woman of God. So if you're struggling to flourish wherever you are in your journey right now, this interview will give you a boost and help you see you can prosper wherever you're planted. Sloane is proof. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Empowered Woman podcast. This is a place for you to learn from inspiring women how to empower yourself through self-love. Stop people pleasing, become your own support system, and put yourself first for once. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is martaspirk, and I'm your host, triplet mom, woman empowerment coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. Welcome again. Let's dive into today's episode. I am so excited to chat with Sloane today and get to know more about her and her business. I actually connected with Sloane via our mutual virtual assistant, Nina. She suggested Sloane as one of the guests. And I was like, you know what? I want to get to know Sloane. Her story is super interesting. And so go ahead and tell us who you are and what you do.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, Marta, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Yes, shout out to Nina. She is amazing. But yeah, I love what you're doing here in this community, and congratulations on the anniversary of your business. So thank you first and foremost for having me. This is one of my favorite questions. Who are you and what do you do? I'm always like, do you have time?
Yes.
Ultimately, my story is, I think, like so many others. I am a girl from a really small town who, wasn't born with a silver spoon. I really had to work hard for a lot of things. In my life, I had to overcome a lot of obstacles. I was a young mom. It's a huge part of my story. I had my oldest son, who's 22, when I was 16 years old. So I really had to learn to navigate, how do I move through life and still hold those dreams that were planted in my heart, that were given to me from God. How do I go against what I see versus what I feel, right? How do I navigate this world as a young girl, and then a woman, and then a more mature, do we say mature woman when you're almost in your 40s?
Yes, yes.
And constantly with that lens, though, of holding what God placed in my heart and using a life of sometimes a lot of pain, and not letting that restrict me. Instead, understanding that that's just the process that I've had to go through. So, really just learning how to prosper where I'm planted.
Yes. And I love that title. It actually makes me think about so many things that I've gone through coming from a different country. And today's a special day for me because I actually just did my citizenship interview and I passed, and I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, how special.
Yes, super special. So amazing. And then, of course, moving several times. I had my kids in Brazil. So it's all about making the most of where you are, right? Not only physically, but in life, in the different areas of life. And with this crazy season that we're all going through collectively, I've been, spending a lot more time at home with the kids, and we started doing little experiments just to pass time, sprouting beans and taking care of little caterpillars and watching them turn into butterflies. And today, of all days, the very first butterfly emerged, and I was like, what is this day?
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It is. So I love
what a sign. It's so beautiful.
It's just amazing. So I love this, the message of, prosper where you're planted, because it really is a choice, right? You can't control everything, can't control your circumstances, but you can control your reaction, your attitude. And especially with, knowing this little bit of information that you just told us about having your first child when you were so young, that shapes you, right? That affects your entire life. but
Yes,
you have a choice of how it's going to affect you and
that's
what you're
right.
going to be teaching that child and beyond,
Exactly.
right? So what
Yeah.
do you do with your business then,
Yes.
past that beginning and knowing that you had to make the most of every situation?
Yeah. Thank you. Great question. So ultimately, having to, navigate life and figure out, okay, well, what's the calling on my life? What do I want to do? Um, what's led me to where I am today. So today, my specialty is helping female coaches to attract their ideal clients and scale their businesses to six figures. So that's primarily what I do. But it was a long road to get there, a very long road to get there, right? And it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of prospering where I was planted. And sometimes I had to dig really, really deep into the soil to find that prosperity.
Right.
Lots of failing forward moments. And gosh, I mean, specifically, I guess I would say it's taken years for me as a coach, creating courses, all these things that we do,
Yeah.
speaking on stages, running traditional business as well. I had a boutique and a co-working space and all these different things, to finally fail and fall into where I am, speaking life into coaches and teaching systems that ultimately are going to make their lives easier, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so that's what I do, and then I've also been known to help people write, publish, and scale their books.
Ooh,
It's
nice.
also a fun little thing that I do. A lot of us say little, I'm downplaying it, but a lot of the times I work with authors as well, helping them to do that and run their branding and their PR and their speaking online.
Oh, that's amazing. And I love that you said that it's been a journey, ups and downs, because we tend to look at other people's lives and things that it's a linear journey, that they figure everything out right off the bat. And it's not
Yeah.
like that for anybody. Why do we still
Mm-mm.
think that, you know?
Yeah.
And I am so grateful for other women in this space that are super open and vulnerable,
Mm,
and really humble enough to say that
mm,
they've made mistakes, but that they've
yeah.
grown through them.
Yeah.
And that's really how you grow, right? When you
Yeah.
attempt different things. And it's been amazing to connect with all these women in these interviews that I've been doing. Just the other day, I interviewed for the first time a teenager. She's 17, and she
Wow.
is just doing amazing things, encouraging
Mm,
her peers and
that's so
adults
good.
to
Mm,
help others find their passions, find their
yeah.
purpose, use their
Mm-hmm.
voice. And that
Mm-hmm.
makes me just so happy, because
Yeah.
it's something that I wish, I was encouraged to follow my dreams and stuff as a young person. But
Sure.
once you're past that age and you look back, you're like, wow, I wish there was more of this around. So
Yeah.
super grateful for all the coaches out there. And even if we're doing similar work and encouraging and
Right.
empowering women, it's
Yeah.
never too many of us,
No.
right?
But
Encouraging
I'm
each other.
I'll tell you what, I think that's the one thing that I'm constantly reminding myself and my community is exactly what you just said. All boats rise with the tide.
Yeah.
And what makes us unique is who we are in our story and
Yes.
how we've come to such a time as this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if we can all continue to support each other, and that's why I love what you're doing here, that's how we all win. We
Yes.
all win. I remember when I got into coaching, there weren't women coaching, first of all, and or that, like, it's weird, right? The industry is weird because
Yeah.
now there's probably more female coaches. However, when
Yes.
you look at who we see, they're
Yeah.
male.
Right.
No, no, not, I'm not against the mans. We love the mans. We need
Yes.
them,
We need
to
them.
procreate. We need them. No, so, but it is that way, right? So it's really
Yeah.
interesting. And I thought, and that's why I love things like this. Collaboration is, I think it's that pulse in my heart. I love it. Anything that I can do to help you, I want to, because that
Yeah.
means that there's more of us. And the
Yes.
more that we can all get on the same page and champion each other, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter what we do, or if our ideal avatars mix or combine.
Right.
Ultimately, people are going to be attracted to who they are for reasons that we might not understand.
Yes.
And that's okay, because that's not our job, right? Our job is to show up and serve, and as
Exactly.
leaders, As leaders, it's our job to set an example
Mm-hmm.
and say, hey, we can all play in the sandbox together.
Yes.
And because that's the gift. That's what we
Yes.
should be doing. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, and I was going to follow up and ask you, so what are some of your tips, or what is some advice that you can give for us to prosper where we are in our lives, even if it's a negative, not so great space.
Yes.
And I feel like this is one of the components, is supporting each other, is
Yes.
understanding how somebody else's success does not mean your failure, and all of those things that are easier said than done, because sometimes we get down the dumps, we start comparing. It's natural.
Totally.
But the more I feel like we surround ourselves with people that reminds us of these things, because it's all about reminders, right? We know so much already, but we tend to forget because we start feeding the negativity instead of feeding the good things that we already know. It's constantly making those choices, right? You always have a good choice and a not so great choice, and that's really all you have in your hands, in your control, is making that choice, right?
That's so good.
What are some of your tips, and based on all of your journey with your business and even in your personal life?
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind, I actually just had a call earlier today with a client, and she felt stuck because of this time and job changes and family and career, right? And she's telling me this, and I'm like, amen, sister. Like, I get it, right? The one thing that I do is I always have people write out a goal card. So when we start working together, it's like, okay, what's your goal? Write it on a card. You're going to write it every day. I don't get to have credit for this. I learned this from a mentor years ago. So I literally have stacks of white index cards, right? So I told her to write her goal card for a moment like this. So she gets on the call with me and she's like, you know what? I need to take a break. I just need time. I need space. Can we resume in January? Because of X, Y, and Z. And first of all, everyone should process what they're feeling and their needs. And it is valid and it is real, right? Yes. But what I reminded her of was to take out that goal card, and I had her read it back to me. And as she read that goal card back, guess what happened? Tears coming down the face, right? And then we have to walk into that emotion. So, okay, why are you feeling that? Because I don't want to quit on myself. I think that is a universal truth.
Yes.
We are so easy to quit on our goals, especially I feel like as women.
Yes.
Something happened. Okay, no, I'm going to do this later.
It's over. Yeah.
It's over. And it's done. I'm not doing it. Right?
Yes. I think we give
this
up
isn't for me.
Every day or several times.
Totally. So I told her this one thing though. I said that card is actually certainty. So if you don't have a card, how to prosper where you're planted, write out a goal card and remind yourself, because that's going to be your anchor. You're going to come back to that card. That's the certainty. That will happen. What is on your goal card will happen. Right. What will also happen is life. So life is going to knock you down, right? The storms, the enemy is going to come in. I want to smash you. But guess what? All that means is that that goal card, it used to be in front of you. And then now you're going to have to go outside and plant it in the yard. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It just means it might take you a little bit longer. So it really is up to you. My whole thing is you got to have that goal in front of you. You have to prioritize it so that no matter where you're at in life, you'll feel rooted. You'll feel planted when you see that card in front of you, because then you can prioritize around it. You can do what you said, Marta. Decide, make the choice, right? Yeah. Make the choice. And then the last thing is prospering where you're planted. It really is about where this talk actually came was my husband was in the Army. He was a private. I had babies. At that point, 2 of them. One I was breastfeeding. One was 7 years old. We had 1 car. I moved from Hawaii to Washington State, the first time I ever saw snow in my life. And I literally remember being in this apartment for the first time with the baby, trying to go through real estate classes with a broken laptop. The R letter was missing. Try being a realtor when the R letter doesn't work.
That's not okay.
You get filter. You get filt. You don't even get the get the no or R's on that. So excuse me. So I literally had a moment where I was like, I have a choice. I can look at this and have all the real reasons to quit. Or I can look at this moment as opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose then that I was going to prosper where you're planted. But then I realized that it was the thing, the gift that God gave me from when I held my baby in my arms at 16,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Like, and I have no
Oh, I
explanation
got
for
chills.
that. I have no explanation for how a 16-year-old, when the world was telling her that your life was over,
Yeah.
that I literally held him, and I remember looking out a window and just saying, I don't know how,
Yeah.
but I know that the only way that I can make it is to not let my dreams die,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can show him that there are no excuses. Because if your mama can do it, then you can do it. And we're
Right.
not going to let these people tell us lies. Not going to
Yes.
do it.
Oh my gosh.
I
This
know.
is amazing. It's like we're having our own little preaching session here.
I
I
know.
love this. And this even reminds me of my own journey with my kids.
Yeah.
I had my babies when I was 29, but I feel like in a similar emotion of having triplets is, how am I going to do this? You know, and looking outside that window in NICU and thinking, I have no other option. And I have to show them what life is. So I better be sure of what I know and what I'm going to be passing on to them. And the whole military spouse too, I wanted us to touch on this really quickly because this is something that I have learned a lot about because meeting other Brazilians, so other immigrants, other women, lots of them end up in the United States marrying a man in the military. So I know how difficult, so many friends that I've lost because they move away and, move out of the country. And I know, even though sometimes we will look at these people's lives and think, oh, how glamorous that you're living in Germany, that you're living in, in South Korea and all these places. It's like, it's tough. Me moving several times, not military related, I know it is hard because a part of you feels like it stays behind, but you're still here. So talk about learning to prosper where you're planted when you're moving around so much. Tell us more about that reality and how you can give some advice for women going through transitions.
Gosh. Well, okay, you know that old saying, like, learn from somebody who did it all wrong, and then then you don't have to repeat it. So let's get real. Like that one moment I just described for you, that was like a very awesome moment that I had. But when I look back, it was really hard because building new community, building relationship, building friends, it takes time. And when you have, most of the time you've got little babies and humans, like they become your friends, and they're all consuming of your life. But one of the things that I really did, honestly, in that time frame was any opportunity I had to reconnect and come back home, I did. We learned a lot about technology there. I remember that's when I started using Zoom.
Oh, wow.
Back then.
Wow. Didn't even know it existed.
It was like Oprah did some show and I saw like the logo or something. Maybe it was something, I think it was Zoom, like way back then. Taking advantage of technology, I think really helped. And then ultimately, I don't know, at the end of the day, just having a really strong faith, just because I needed to, in order to prosper where I was, I needed to have trust and certainty that I was going to get through this time. Because I also had like postpartum. My husband also got, as soon as we landed, he got orders that he was going to be going off to Iraq.
Oh my goodness.
So it was like, do we want to have anything else? Like any other drama do I need? And so practical things that I know you talk about too, just taking care of yourself. I think it was back then that I learned that I needed to get out of the house. And that meant, for a Hawaiian girl in Washington, I needed to wear a lot of clothes. I had to wear a lot of clothes. Yeah. So I had to learn new things, right? I had to be willing to learn new things. I became a stay-at-home mom full-time then. I had to be willing to, and I did, I had to be willing to sacrifice. I think we all have seasons.
Yeah.
And prospering where you're planted is about saying, okay, this is where I am right now. It's almost like that picturing that goal card. Like I always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
I always had these dreams, but it just meant that was going to take a little bit longer. It might not happen tomorrow because I'm literally raising 2 babies, right? And that's where I'm being called.
Yes.
And so I want to do the best that I can here, build that fertile soil so that I can show up fully when the time is right.
Yes.
For me.
Yes. No, and I love that analogy. And it just, just thinking about the little beans that we sprouted and how some of them took a little bit longer than the others, and seeing, the roots going different places and just finding a way. Like this is what we do in life. This is how, you just make it happen. You just make it happen. And
just make it happen.
Yeah. So I love this so much. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story and your passion. I would love for you to share more links, more information on how people can connect with you, what exactly, how they can work with you for the women that are needing some assistance with their business as well. And we'll stay connected. This is just a beginning connection. I'm looking forward to having all of these ladies in the group and building friendships and relationships, because like we said in the beginning, this is what makes the world goes round.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm here to serve. Happy to be here. And just, again, just thank you so much for showing up and for being you. I am honored.
Honored. Thank you. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Ooh, how awesome was that? Don't forget to connect with Sloane. I have her information in the show notes. And be empowered. Until next time. Bye.